immediately after the show on Friday, we got word that the legend George Foreman passed away. So before we play Last One Standing and talk about neighborhood sports rules, because Dan Byers got a story.
Oh, and I have great advice. We're going to talk about who you should not boink. Who should you not sleep with? I have a theory. Well, there's very limited things I could really say.
Boink,
right?
you say, huh?
Boing.
We lost a legend, a true American icon, a true legend in the world of sports, in the world of life. Not only a legendary boxer, but turned out to be a greater man. The great George Foreman passed away at 76. As of now, his family still hasn't disclosed what caused the death, but, I mean, the guy had a tough life. He lasted 76 years. In boxing years, that's like 176 years. And let's not forget, he fought some of the toughest dudes on the planet. Some people just remember him as a spokesman for the grill or Meineke. I guarantee it, the highest form of guarantee.
In fact, George Foreman endorses our show.
Hey, this is George Foreman. You're going to love the Covino and Rich show. I guarantee it.
See, look at that, even back in the day.
Rest in peace. But even before the grill, the baddest man on the planet, as Stephen A. would say, he was a bad man. People feared George Foreman. He was like a fighting robot. His style was unconventional. He had crazy power, laying out legends like Joe Frazier, Ken Norton, you name it, and then became the oldest heavyweight. He was like a totally different guy. I didn't even know it was the same George Foreman. I'm like, that's the same guy that fought Ali? You kidding me? He came back at 45 and beat Michael Moorer. Ended up 76-5, Rich. 81 total fights, 76-5, and lost most of those in the end of his career. But again, became heavyweight champ again at 45 years old.
There's a lot of people, and I'd imagine most people 40 and younger that don't even know a George Foreman with hair.
Which is wild.
And I only know that George Foreman through highlights. I don't remember in real time George Foreman with hair. If I say in my lifetime, picture George Foreman, it was always shaved head with the smile.
Well, again, it's generational because he was already a legend, and then he retired. He found God. He became a preacher. He had a whole second part of his life. He became a spokesman. But before that, he was probably the most feared boxer in the heavyweight division. So when Ali beat him, it was like a miracle. People were scared for Ali's life at that point. And Ali did the rope-a-dope, tired out George Foreman. George Foreman kept hit him with everything he had. And then the story goes, Rich, Ali said to him, "That's all you got, George?" And it crushed Foreman's spirit. He ends up losing. Ali pulls off a miracle, and that's what makes Muhammad Ali a legend. Because Foreman at that time was knocking out everybody. And like I said, he lost 5 fights, but most of them at the end of his career. He lost to Evander Holyfield. Think about that just for 1 second. A guy that fought Ali. He lost to Muhammad Ali. Also lost to Evander Holyfield in 91. He lost to Tommy Morrison in 93. He fought Tommy the Duke Morrison, bro. Tommy Gunn. And he lost to Shannon Briggs in his last fight in 97. But again, he beat Michael Moorer to become the oldest heavyweight champion till this day at the age of 45. A record that Klitschko's chasing now. Klitschko says he wants a title fight at 48. But a guy that fought Joe Frazier, a guy that fought Ken Nortons and Ali's of the world, he was fighting the Shannon Briggses of the world. Now, I pose this question to you. If you only know him from the grill, is the grill the greatest infomercial item of all time? Because, dude, it was a game changer. It gave every bozo like me the freedom to make some rubbery chicken at home. It worked. I used it all the time, dude. I was that guy.
As long as it was slanted, right? As the joke goes.
No, it has to be on an angle.
Get that angle.
The grease catcher.
And remember the little...
Yeah, but you could never find the grease catcher.
Not only could you not find that, remember the tool it came with? Like a little
cleaning spatula.
Scraping thing for all the little divots.
Do you know, Rich, I read over the weekend that when it first came out, the Foreman grill, it wasn't selling well. Then he got on QVC and was so good with the host, and at one point he grabbed a burger and ate it, and that's what blew it up.
There was one point during the primo days of the Foreman grill, probably in our college days, where George Foreman was making $5 to $10 million a month off the grill. Over 100,000 I'm sorry. Correction. Over 100 million George Foreman grills have been sold.
We all had one. Everyone had one. And I had the OG one because then there was different variations of them.
They had a deluxe one that pivoted on
But
the
again,
top.
dude, the premise of it was so simple. There was no on-off switch. It was plug it in, it gets hot, and you cook some food. Had it in the dorm room. Had it in my first home.
Any thermometer? Nope. Just turn it on.
I think it moved out to California here with me. I had it for years.
Dude,
the point is it worked, and we trusted George Foreman. His smile, his face, everything about him. He went from the meanest man on the planet to the most likable guy that we all trusted because we all had that grill, dude.
I guarantee it.
Besides your rubbery chicken, it made really good turkey burgers. That's what I used it for when I was a bachelor.
Burgers, quesadillas, warming up anything. The Foreman Grill was in every college dorm, house, frat house, sorority house for a good decade or so.
You know, Michael Scott loved to wake up to the smell of bacon cooking in the morning, so I, of course, had to post the clip of him burning his foot on the George Foreman grill from The Office as my tribute to George Foreman.
And speaking of which, I don't even think you realize it. You just mentioned The Office. Guess what today is? The 20-year anniversary. The Office debuted on this day in 2005.
Wow.
Look at that. I was saying.
You're an anniversary guy. You really are.
Tying it all together.
What a
is.
coincidence.
Tied together.
So, George Foreman, again, you knew him as a boxer. Maybe you just knew him as a spokesman, but he was legendary at both, and we all had that grill, and the guy was a true legend. And if you've never seen it, if you want to pay some tribute to George Foreman in your own time, it sort of went under the radar because there wasn't a big budget behind it, but Big George Foreman, the movie, the miraculous story of the once and future heavyweight champion of the world, came out in 2023, a biopic. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. So if you have time, when you're done with The Bachelor tonight, when you're done catching up on the White Lotus, check out Big George Foreman, the movie. You'll learn something about the guy. Again, he was a great dude. Great family man. He named every one of his kids George and Georgina after him. And like I said, it's kind of crazy growing up, Rich. I was so confused at that time in my life. I was like, wait, the guy that fought Ali, because it looked nothing like that guy. That's the same guy fighting now. It felt like two worlds apart, two different people from two different lifetimes.
He reinvented himself.
Yeah, so what an amazing life.
You know, what you pointed out was interesting because we remember that 45-year-old George Foreman in the 90s getting the title back. Then when you watch old videos of him with Ali, you're right.
That crazy sneaky power, bro.
It's like, wait a minute. It seems like two different people. It makes you think of like how like a Nolan Ryan. I looked this stat up. Nolan Ryan has faced nearly 20% of all Hall of Fame members. Like Nolan Ryan was pitching to guys in the 60s and the 90s. Like his span, like
he was on that 69 team with Tom Seaver, so he was probably playing against. Let's see, what year did like Mantle retire?
He never faced Mantle.
Okay, because I know Mantle played into the mid to late 60s.
Guys like that though, so it's wild to think that Foreman
and then he was knocking out Robin Ventura. So yeah, his career spanned a lot of like legendary guys to recent history guys.
The simple fact that he fought Evander Holyfield and Muhammad Ali.
Exactly.
So when you think of George Foreman, unfortunately and fortunately, the grill is a big part of it. It made him, he said in an interview once, it made him over $200 million.
I think it was a $500 million industry at one point, right, Danny G, the grill?
Yeah, it earned $500 million.
And to think that Hulk Hogan missed that opportunity, that's how the legend goes. We even talked to the Hulkster about it.
There's like, some people say that's not a completely true story, but the story that Hogan tells and some tell is that they were looking for endorsers for this product line. And they were going to give the Hulkster first shot at the grill. And either he missed the call or didn't get back to them.
He said his agent called him, right?
Yeah,
he missed the call.
And then they're like, all right, Foreman, you get the grill. And the Hulkster got like a blender.
Yeah, it didn't work out the same way. Look, Foreman was great at it too, though. It doesn't mean that the Hulkster would have had the same impact. Foreman was trustworthy. We liked him. And the grill worked. So you got to give her credit where it's due. What's up, DB?
I was just going to say, like in the pantheon of infomercials, I mean, it's got to be like that. Maybe Ronco, Set It and Forget It.
Ron Popeil, yeah.
Yeah.
Peel, yeah.
And
Legendary.
what the
The Snuggie?
but like
How about like the chop shot or
Slap chop.
but
Yeah.
also the
ShamWow?
ShamWow, yeah, ShamWow.
Yeah,
guy.
they're all up there. I can't imagine they're above the George
And Flex
Foreman
Tape,
grill, though.
kind of.
Flex Seal.
Flex Seal.
I can tell you all those
riding a
guys.
boat.
Phil Swift and Billy Mays was a big guy in that
I
industry.
feel it made you trust the infomercial. Because if you got the George Foreman grill and it was amazing, because I do think that there is mistrust in it, and it worked like it did for so many of us, as you guys have just been discussing. I had one as well. It also put trust in that whole medium that, well, maybe now I can buy this or I could buy that. Like,
that's a great point. We did. He was so credible, and you believed him for whatever reason because he seemed so believable and like such a nice guy. Again, total personality transformation, the baddest guy to the nicest guy. It did open up a lot of other options in the world of infomercial items, but to me, that's the king. To me, that's the number one. And, we often, when we talk about celebrity sports endorsements, Rich, we always bring up Shaq because what he's done is amazing. And we always talk about OJ and how impactful he was.
Yeah.
But, dude, George Foreman was right up there with the best, if not the best, when you think about that grill.
It made the average idiot feel like they could cook.
Yeah.
The
Without a
average
doubt.
19-year-old.
And that's me all the way. 'cause I can't cook anything.
That was Covino. Picture 19-year-old Covino at Montclair State in his frat house. Like, guys, I'm making burgers. Like, for the first time ever, this guy felt like he was a chef.
I probably romanced a young girlfriend of mine through the help of the George Foreman grill.
It made it easy though. For
It
my
did.
dad used the George Foreman grill all the time when we were kids.
Yeah, it
'Cause
worked.
It would the little light would come on when it was ready, right? And then you would put the stuff on and you just watch that grease drip on down.
That was it. That was it.
And, Spot, you pointed this
Cuts
out.
the fat. Remember that?
Yeah, I
Cut
was
the
gonna say,
fat.
Spot pointed this out earlier that it was a time where people were less informed about health. So you would just assume, like, look at all the grease drip. It must be so healthy. You're getting rid of all the grease and fat because of the slant of the
Angle.
the
The
angle.
word lean sold millions.
Lean.
Angle. It was all about the angle of the grill.
Yeah, it had to have gravity bringing the grease drippings
that
down.
was the whole premise of why it worked, and it did. It worked.
the lean. What was it? Fat grilling machine.
Lean Mean Grilling Machine.
Lean mean grilling machine.
And
yeah.
Covino, as you pointed out, you would always lose that stupid little tray to catch the fat.
You'd never find it. They'd be lost in Mom's Tupperware somewhere.
Where's the
you
little
couldn't find
tray?
that. Couldn't find that tray.
And before the air fryer, you probably still had a Foreman grill somewhere.
So it's definitely a big loss just in American culture, but in the world of boxing.
You know what's funny? I want you to think about it for a second, for real. If you've moved to a lot, after college or your apartments and houses before you got married, how long did the Foreman grill come with you?
Dude, it lasted a long time in my
I almost
life.
feel like the Foreman grill lasted until I moved across the country.
It's still in my garage in its box.
You have one?
Yeah.
One of our buddies hit us up earlier, and they said the air fryer sort of replaced the George Foreman grill, but there was a time where everybody had one, especially every college kid. Every family had one, but especially if you were, going on your own for the first time, that was the go-to item.
I mean, we moved this summer. Will mark 10 years that we've been out here in Los Angeles. I think that's when I said goodbye, George Foreman grill. So I was like, I was in my early 30s when I said goodbye to the Foreman grill.
Your point was so spot on as well. There's nothing like the spark that came from your outlet as you plugged it in or unplugged it. But it was also
No on-off, no temperature.
Well,
just
that's the great thing about it was it wasn't like it didn't innovate because mine had a bun warmer in the later days.
Yes.
It had a plastic lid that you could put your hamburger buns in.
Oh, no, I sat my girlfriend's on it,
Yeah.
man. You missed out.
the bun warmer.
They actually called me the bun warmer.
But yeah, no on-off. But we're gonna add this bun warmer to it as well.
We gotta give. There's a comedian. We gotta give him props because he does a whole bit on it, on how there was no. It was clearly designed. He says it was clearly designed by a boxer because there was no one that helped him out with the product. He said there was no on-off. It was just a plug. There was no thermostat. Who's the comedian? Let's give him credit.
I know the guy's name who actually did invent it, Michael Bohm, and he tinkered with lawnmowers and things that were electric. It says here, other than the lawnmower, which was gas powered, obviously, but it says he was a lifelong inventor.
Wow.
And so he's the guy who came up with it. He made a lot less money than Big George did.
And props again to Lachlan Patterson, who does a whole routine on it about how it was the most simple design, but it worked because it had the angle. The whole thing was premised on the angle of the grill.
I'm not saying I'm going to get one in honor of the late great George Foreman now.
What do they go for now?
But I'm looking right now. There's a pretty sweet, newer looking one, like a new one you could buy right now.
Yeah.
Do you see the one on the stand? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm seeing one at Walmart and like Target right now and Amazon for $34, $35, and it looks like a pretty
steal.
No, but it looks like a pretty nice one.
Rich, there's one. It's like $80 now, but it's actually on a stand. You could put it on your patio.
But you know what? Here's something interesting though. Like I have a teenage daughter, right? There's a comfort knowing that me, the biggest bonehead, used it and I was okay with it. I would feel comfortable with her cooking something up if I wasn't around because I know it's kind of safe and easy to use, I should say. What do you think it cost when we bought it back in the day? What was it, like $50?
It could not have been that because every college kid had
$49.99.
Yeah, it was on sale usually for like $39.
Oh, you needed the Bed Bath & Beyond coupon.
Yeah.
That's why. You need that 20% off.
But I feel like $50 would have been too high of a price point. I bet you it was $29 or $39 because
that's so cheap, really? $29 for that thing? Well, there was two sizes. There's no way that bigger one was $29.
How many times did you make like a hot sandwich, like a little penny, like you put like a piece of bread and some, cheese and cold cuts and just smush it down, warm it up?
Well, I'm telling you, man, go buy yourself a new one for your teenage kid for nostalgic reasons and watch the movie. If you don't know a lot about the man, it drives me bonkers when people say, I didn't even know he was a boxer. Come here, let me karate kick you. Watch the movie, learn something about the dude. He was one of the best fighters. Pure, raw power, dude. Power. Like no one else in boxing. It's called Big George Foreman. It came out in 2023. I think you'll enjoy it. You'll learn a little something about the guy.
Did you guys, Covino grew up in Jersey. I grew up in New York. DB, Danny G. You guys, Iowa Sam grew up in Iowa. We were all over the country, this show. Was the George Foreman Meineke muffler commercial on every commercial you ever watched in your life? Was that a big part of your childhood?
Yeah.
You're not going to pay a lot for this.
Yeah.
I
muffler.
don't recall. I remember, but I wouldn't think that it would be over and over.
Oh, it was like, I feel like that was in heavy rotation where we grew up.
Because of that and because of the grill's success, for years on this show, if Rich and I were trying to make a statement, since day one of our show, we always said the highest form of guarantee was the George Foreman guarantee. So if I was like, dude, the Yankees are going to have a better record than the Mets this season, I guarantee it. My guarantee means nothing. But if I said, I George Foreman guarantee it, it's like an undeniable highest of high guarantees. And then we always said the George Zimmer guarantee was second to that. That's the Men's Warehouse. You're going to love the way you look. I guarantee it. Guarantee.
You're going to like the way you look.
And then what was third, Rich?
Oh, the Tommy Boy in a box guarantee.
The Tommy Boy Callahan Breaks guarantee.
There were other ones, too.
The Joe Namath guarantee holds some weight.
Rich, back to your point about it being affordable, you're right. In 1994, when it debuted, it was $19.99.
No way, dude. That's crazy.
The version we all bought a little later was $39, something like that.
Still,
Are
for
you
the price of a
picturing-
lap dance, you get one of those?
A lap dance or a Foreman grill? That's a tough decision. Danny, do you remember the one I'm guessing? You're picturing silver with a black handle.
Yes.
Okay, that was
I'm
the
picturing white with the black handle.
The white one is what I bought later,
Yeah,
but
the
I
white
remember that OG
the
version.
OG. I had the silver with the black handle.
had
I
the
remember
white
seeing
one.
the ads for the one you're talking about, Rich.
Wow.
Just to think, it's crazy to think that this guy,
Platinum edition?
one of the greatest heavyweight boxers of all time, fought Muhammad Ali, Evander Holyfield.
He got rope-a-doped.
He is. What was his record? 70-5 or something? What did you say?
He was. He only lost 5 fights, 76-5, I believe.
Meanwhile, the guy made his fortune as the face of a grill.
It's unbelievable. Dan Beyer made a really great point. That may have opened the door for, that genre of sales and infomercial items that we lived our entire high school years and college years and growing up years. We're staying up late and watching all these stupid things, probably because he made it credible.
Well, I guess a lot of times you buy things like that, and it stinks. The Foreman grill lived up. Hence the success. It lived up.
It really did.
You saw it, and you're like, this guy making burgers and quesadillas and chicken. You got it. You brought it home, and you're like, wow. I bought one that did not work. You brought up some of these other ones. I remember buying the Flavor Wave oven.
Yeah, I remember the Flavor
And the
Wave oven.
Flavor Wave oven was like, you could put a frozen steak on you, and you have a sweet ribeye in 10 minutes. It defrosted everything. It would blow out the circuits in my house.
I tried to make a canoe out of Flex Seal. I tried to sail on a screen window, and it didn't work, man. I was so disappointed. But your thoughts, rest in peace
You know what
to the big George Foreman.
You know what? We could talk about this all day, but hey, again, a legend, 76.